Well, good morning, everyone. Sorry you have to come here to some desks that are all wet. But I suppose that's better than if they're not wet, if you really think about it. So here we are Wednesday. We're getting through the week. And we're dealing with, as you know, we're hardcore major scales right now. We're right in the thick of major scales and key signatures. And the first thing I'd like to do to get us started is take a minute or so to return the quizzes that you all took from me yesterday, since I got them graded for you. So. So if you made an error somewhere, I tried to, I believe, put in the correct answer next to where there was a mistake. If you have any questions about something individually, I mean, I'd like to say it's rare, but I mean, I'm human. Sometimes I do make mistakes. So if you have questions about how I graded something, please come see me either after class or come see me in my office in the afternoons. I'd be happy to discuss it with you. Oh, by the way, everyone in here, I believe I have your grades. They are continually being updated, so you can check your current course grade in this class if you go to Canvas. Let me know if you have trouble with that, or if you're having any problems with that and can't find out how to do that. I'll see if I can help you locate that. All right, so as I said, we're right in the thick, or in the middle of major scales and key signatures. And what I'd like to do is, as usual, let's take a few minutes to look at your assignment for today. That should be workbook page 3. And again, I don't know if this is very obvious or clear, but on the assignment sheet, I said for section A at the top of page 3, you did not have to include whole steps and half steps. Okay? You just have to spell the scale. If you did write in whole steps and half steps, that's fine. You don't need to erase them. I'm just going to be checking for the pitches, and I'm going to be checking for the accidentals in the right spot. Right? You're not supposed to use key signatures. You're supposed to use the information from the key signature as knowledge to help you place the individual accidentals in front of every appropriate note for your scale. All right, so with that said, let me ask, are there any questions about any of the sections on this page, section A, B, or C? Oh man, you guys are super duper. Did you at least, for section C, did you make sure that you took at least a little care to make sure you placed the accidentals in the right spot on the staff? Thankfully, it's not too small. I mean, I've seen some assignments where the staff is like microscopic, and you kind of write your flats and sharps in there. But all right, any questions about anything that may have confused you or thrown you? No questions. Wow. Yes, sir.
Can you go over C major and C?
In section C? Yeah, for the C major, that I understand that's a question. You might be confused because you might think, is this a trick question? But it's not a trick question. C major is the one key that has no flats and no sharps in it at all. So technically for that C major measure down in section C, you don't have to put anything in there, you can leave it blank. That's the one key signature, again, for a major scale that requires no black notes, no accidentals, no sharps, no flats, no nothing. Yeah, so you can just let that one go. Leave it blank. Good, other questions before I collect or pick this up?
Like the back of it?
No, you did not have to do page 4.
Oh.
Yeah, I think I just indicated page 3 on there. I mean, I suppose I could have put
it
a,
was part of.
yeah, I suppose I could have put on the assignment sheet not page 4. I mean, if you did page 4, that's perfectly fine, it's just extra practice. But I will not be grading page 4, I'll just be grading sections A, B, and C on the front side. Okay. So, I don't know if your workbook, does your workbook give you a place to put your name or not really?
Yeah.
Oh, it does, wow. Okay, mine is too old, it doesn't do that. So I will come around and collect them then. Let me start here. There we go. Oh, thank you. Oh, please come see me in my office anytime. I've got stuff I can give you. Yep. I can get you all squared away. Yep. Wonderful. So how do you think I mean, you can be honest, and you don't have to have it 100% already, but are you starting to get familiar with, perhaps starting to learn and or memorize, I hope, the key signatures for all the major keys? It doesn't have to be done yet, but sometime, gosh, yeah, sometime next week, I will be giving you a quiz where you'll have to, I mean, you won't be able to use your notes and you'll need to know your key signatures at that time, okay? By the way, key signatures, some of these things that we learn in this class, they're considered music fundamentals, and they are so critical, they are so crucial to just having a nice base of knowledge of music. And everything we learn after this unit just builds on these fundamentals that we're learning right now. So it's super duper important. If you get this now, if you're understanding it, great. If you're not, please come see me or Micah before we go on to the next unit and so on and so forth. I don't want you to feel like you're falling behind or getting lost. By the way, and it's okay if you don't, I haven't seen Micah today. Did anyone see Micah yesterday?
Oh, I didn't go see him about like
Oh, you didn't go see him? That's all right. I think he had some hours yesterday. You don't have to. I was just wondering if anyone did. But when I see him, I'll ask him if anyone visited.
He said nobody did.
He said nobody did?
Two upperclassmen that visited him for other things.
Oh, really? Okay, well, I mean, if you don't need it, you don't need it. I mean, that's okay. But I mean, if you need it and if you have that time available, I strongly encourage you to go there and get help. Some people have, I don't like to use this term, but some people have said that, you know, theory is kind of like basically a math class cloaked in music. I don't know. If some people, if you don't like math, then it can have kind of a pejorative meaning to this class. Do any of you like math? Oh, right, good. Yeah. When I was an undergraduate, I took on a minor, and my minor was math. So I majored in music and I minored in math. And but anyways, yeah. So it's kind of like a math class. You know, once you learn addition and subtraction, and then you can learn division and multiplication, and then after that you can learn other things that build off of those operations and so forth. But anyways, here we are. So What we're going to do is I'd like to complete talking about major scales and key signatures today. We're going to use the knowledge of key signatures to help us answer different types of questions, musical questions about scales. And then after that, I'd like to talk about something called the circle of fifths, which is always nice. It's always a nice day when you can talk about that. And then hopefully then by that time we'll be finished and you'll know everything, or at least you've heard everything you need to know about major scales to get them under your belt. You know, once we're done talking about major scales, it doesn't mean we're going to stop using them forever. No, we're going to use them probably every class period. But this is just the official time to focus on them and really understand what goes on with them. Okay, so no more preaching from me. Let's start by reviewing something we learned last class. How about I ask somebody here, and I guess we'll do it in the treble clef. And I want someone here to help me spell an F sharp major scale. And I'll even get you started, okay? I'll do this. Would anyone, I want you to be able to use your key signature knowledge without, you know, counting whole steps and half steps. Would anyone like to give it a try or volunteer and let me know what I'm supposed to do? Okay.
Well, I just start with put all the notes in.
Okay, I agree. On every space and every line until you get to another F sharp. And don't forget to put the sharp on here. I've had students do that before. Because if you go from F sharp and then you end on F natural, you know, it's kind of close but no cigar. All right, so I've done that. Now, what do you know about the key of F sharp major and its key signature?
There's everything sharp except for B.
Except for what?
B.
The E, that's right. So how many sharps are there in the key signature for F sharp major? 6. Okay? That's very helpful. We need to know that. And you also know the E doesn't get,
B.
I'm sorry, the B doesn't get one. Did I mishear you? I'm sorry. The B does not require a sharp. Yeah. Thank you. All right, so let's go through the order of sharps. F sharp is first always, and I've gotten both sharp. What's the next sharp in the order of sharps?
C sharp.
C sharp. Okay, so let me find my C and we'll sharp it. And the next one in the order is
G.
Okay, G sharp. And the next one is
D.
D. And the next one is
A.
A sharp, good. And I think we need another one yet. E sharp, yeah. And there we stop. We've got 6. Now when I count them, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Don't count this sharp twice, because it's the same as the first one. It's the same pitch. Okay? So I do indeed have 6 different notes sharp. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I followed the order. I started at the beginning, which means I don't need the 7th sharp, so that's why B does not get sharp in this key, in this scale. And if you were to, like I told some of my students earlier this morning, you all have like a 9-foot Baldwin grand piano in your dorm room, right? Because so you can, I mean, you can check your scale to see if it sounds right. Yeah, that's right. Played all those notes and we got F sharp major. Wonderful. Okay. How many total major scales or keys did we say there were last class?
13.
15, yeah, 15. 7 keys that require sharps in their key signature, 7 that require flats, and 1 key that requires no sharps or no flats. Okay. Let me see here. I'm going to go to page 8. And there are, you know what, I'm going to see if this, I'll turn this on and see if this is working today. But while this is warming up, I'll ask you some questions that are there on page 8. Oh wow, this goes way back. This goes back. Nice review. There's a checkpoint box on page 8. It's in the green shaded area. Look at this. Let me turn this TV on. Wouldn't that be neat if I turned the TVs on and then there was like Big Bang Theory or something? Oh, good, it's gonna work, I think, at least for now. On page 8, there's a light green shaded box, it's called checkpoint box, and I just wanna see, yeah, that's pretty good, how we would do, because I think we should know the answers to every single one of these questions here. Number 1, does G3 lie below or above middle C?
Below.
Below, right, because middle C is C what? 4. Number 2, how is a double sharp notated?
It's just the X in front of the note.
That's right, as an X. Not two sharps next to each other, but as an X. Number 3, half steps in the major scale occur between scale degrees blank and blank and between blank and blank. Do you know?
3 and 4 and 7 and 8.
That's right. Half steps occur between scale degrees 3 and 4 and between scales, the notes of the scale 7 and 8. That's right. And they'll always be there between those pairs of notes in a major scale. Here's a good one. The major scale consists of 2 identical 4-note patterns called
A tetrachord?
That's right, tetrachords. Number 5, what relationship can you see, let's just imagine this in your mind now, between the order of sharps and the order of flats?
The order of flats is literally the order of sharps but flipped around.
That's right, the exact reverse, right? Okay, and then name the 15 major keys. Well, that might take us, that might take a little while, so we'll skip that for now. You'll encounter the 15 major keys throughout this semester. Okay, so there's a little bit of review. Let's try something like this. On page 9, there's another green shaded table here. It's section D. Now, this was in the workbook on page 4. Those of you that did page 4, you probably did something like this already. But those of you that stuck to page 3, you may not have tried anything like this before. So I want to, I want to take a few minutes to go through this. And here, I can freeze it on the screen. And I'm wondering if there's 14. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Is there 14 people in here? Maybe I'll start over on Preston's side. Preston, number 1. Which major key has 3 flats? Do you know?
E flat?
E flat major. E is an elephant. That's right. Okay, good. And again, it's okay if you look for now, but let's practice this, because remember, memorization is going to help you recall this information instantaneously. And that's what we want. Number 2, can we go to Sammy? 7 sharps. Do you know what key? C sharp major. Yeah, C sharp major. Okay. And Becca, let's try number 3. What's the key signature for D major?
It's a F sharp and C sharp.
That's right, 2 sharps. 2 sharps. Let's go to 1 flat. What major key would that be? F major, that's right. F major, absolutely. I'm trying to stall so I can give people time in between here. Okay, how about, so Megan's got number 4. How about Tyler? Number 5, what would you put in the blank here?
4 flats?
Yeah, 4 flats. A flat major has 4 flats, And then number 6, Jason, do you know how many sharps are in B?
3, or is that the flat? Is that flat?
Yeah, B major has a few more than 3 sharps. If you need to look, yeah, 5, there you go. It's exactly, it's got 5 sharps. Who are we to next? Let's try JP, 6 flats.
G flat maybe?
G flat major, Good, and then how about Kelsey, number 8, B flat major?
2 flat.
2 flats. 2 flats. All right, good. And then how about Lauren? 1 sharp is what key?
G.
G major, that's right, G major. Let me move around here. How about Kiana? Ooh, 5 flats. Do you know what major key?
D flat?
Yeah, D flat. That's right. Let's go to Lexi next. Oh, we just did this one. Don't look at the board.
6, I already know that.
Okay, 6 sharps. Yeah, F sharp major, 6 sharps. Good. And how about Gabrielle? C flat major.
7, what did you say? Sorry,
Yeah, sorry, we're on number 12. C flat.
Okay. 7 flats.
Yes.
My brain short circuited, sorry.
No, that's fine. You knew it was 7. You just got to remember because it's a flat key, then it's going to contain flats in it. Good. And then how about Libby? 13 4 sharps is what major key?
E major.
E major. That's right. Okay. And then finally, let's finish off with Alyssa. 14. Do you know how many accidentals are in A major?
3,
3 what? Flats or sharps?
sharp.
Sharps, that's right, 3 sharps, good. Okay. By the way, Micah is also helpful with this too, but I mean, if you want to, because I know you have loads of spare time and you don't do anything except think about theory 24/7. But I mean, if you have spare time, you can actually make flashcards if you want to. In fact, I bet you if you Google flashcards for major key signatures or something like that, I bet you you'll find something. I bet you'll find something online. Yeah, there are Quizlets. There's also, I don't know how basic or how advanced they get, but there's if you don't know, there's one music theory website that can be kind of helpful, and that is musictheory.net. And if you'd like to visit that, sometimes they have helpful, I don't want to say activities, but just helpful things to get this information lodged in your head. Lodged in your head. All right, where are we here? Yeah, let's move on to something new now. Let's apply this knowledge in a new way. Knowing key signatures actually can allow us to spot errors in misspelled major scales. So for instance, let me put this scale up on the board. And it's going to have, I'm going to purposely put an error in it. Let's see here. G, A, and B. Using your knowledge of, oh, by the way, this is supposed to be, I mean, I purposely put an error in it, but this is a B major scale with an error in it. Knowing what you know about the key signature for B major, can anyone spot the error on in that scale? Without having to again calculate full steps. Okay, go ahead. What do you think?
The E sharp is supposed to not have a sharp.
Right. The error in here is that the E is not supposed to be sharp. Now, how do we know that? Well, you're getting familiar. You should know that B major has 5 sharps in it. And the sharps would be, again, in order, F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, and A sharp. Is there an E sharp anywhere in B major's key signature? No. So, and you might have a problem like this on the next handout, the homework assignment. So what you can do is, I kind of wish I had a red marker, but what you can do is you can just like draw a line through it to tell me that's not supposed to be there. Okay? That's not supposed to be there. It's really just supposed to be B, C sharp, D sharp, B natural, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B. Okay? How about another one? Again, this is supposed to have an error in it. We're going to D flat major, and this is my scale. Let's see what I got here. And knowing what you know about D flat major's key signature, who can identify where the error is in that scale? No?
G needs to be flat.
That's right. Absolutely right. The G needs to be flat. How do we know that? Well, we don't have to take the time to compute half steps and whole steps. We're getting to know that D flat major has 5 flats in its key signature. Okay? What are those flats? Well, in order, they are B flat, they are E flat, A flat, D flat, and there's one more. What's the next flat? G flat, yeah. So it doesn't have the 5th flat in the key signature. It doesn't have G flat. And so what you can do is you can actually, if you have a problem like that on the homework, put the accidental in, actually add it in to make the scale correct. Write that in there. Questions about how to look for errors in major scales and fix them? Okay. We can also use what we know about major scales and key signatures to calculate certain steps or degrees of the various major scales. And I'll see if I can show you what I mean. Let's say you have, and again, I'm not a big fan of word. Were you ever a big fan of math word problems? I was never really a fan of the word problems. I was okay with some other math stuff, but not really a word problem. And I don't really want to say that this is a word problem, but let's say I give you a statement or a question like this and you have to fill in the blank. The third scale degree of, let me change the key because we've got it up on the board. How about, the third scale degree of F major is believe it or not, the key signature, knowing the key signature for F major can really help us. Let me see if I can give you a strategy or some steps to figure this out. First of all, F major, I know it starts on F. That's the scale. And if I go up through the pitch alphabet, F, G, the third scale degree is going to be some sort of A. Maybe I don't know yet whether my answer should be A flat or A natural or A sharp. But this is where the key signature comes in, right? Who knows what F major's key signature is?
It just has 1 flat and B flat.
1 flat, B flat, right? Is the A flatted or altered in any way?
No.
No. So that means the third scale degree, we know it's some sort of A, it must be just plain A or A natural, right? Because there's no A flat or A sharp or anything weird like that in F major's key signature. Does that make sense? Let's try, where are my notes? Let's try another one. I don't have to write out everything here. How about, let's do the 6th scale degree of B major. What note is the 6th note or the 6th step of a B? Oh man, I have B major. Of a B major scale. Well, let's go through the pitch alphabet. If it starts on B, then scale degree 2 is going to be some sort of C and D and E and F and G. So my answer has got to be some sort of G, correct? Now I got to determine whether it's G flat, G natural, or G sharp. Let's use the key signature knowledge. Do you happen to know what it is?
G sharp.
G sharp, that's right. Because B major has 5 sharps, one of those sharps is G sharp. So boom, there's your correct answer. All right, good. Let's see if we can do a little mini word problem or fill in the blank the reverse direction. Like kind of like this. Let me tell you that, oh, this is interesting. F flat is the 4th scale degree of what major key? You know?
Yeah.
What is it?
C flat.
That's right, it's C flat major. Now, how do we determine, how do we find that answer? Well, okay, if F flat is scale degree 4, I'm just mostly concerned about the pitch letter name. It's some kind of F, right? So, let me go with scale degree 4. If F is scale degree 4, then I count backwards through the pitch alphabet to find what scale degree 1 is. Scale degree 1 will give me the name of my key. Okay. So if F is 4, E, some sort of E is 3, and then D is 2, and then C is 1. So my answer is some sort of C major. Now the question becomes, is it C flat major, C major, or C sharp major? Which of those C's, which of those keys has an F flat in its key signature? C flat, right? Okay. Right, it doesn't make sense to have your answer be C natural, because we know the key of C has no flats, no sharps. And it doesn't make sense to have an answer of C sharp major, because sharp keys don't have flats in their key signatures, period. Does that make sense? Let me, do I have time to do one more? Maybe I have time to do one more of these. Oops, I can put the one number down here, 4. Let's do one more of these. A sharp is the third scale degree of what major key? Okay, before I ask you, if A is scale degree 3, A sharp, that means some sort of G is scale degree 2, which means some sort of F is scale degree 1. So my answer is going to be F something major. It's either F flat major, F sharp major, or F major. See how I get that? Okay. Now, let's rule out a very silly, ridiculous answer right away. Is there even such a key as F flat major?
No.
No. That's not one of the 15. And hopefully it never will. It never will. So F flat major is a ridiculous answer. Okay? So my final question is it F major or is it F sharp major? Which of those two keys has A sharp in its key signature? F sharp major, yeah. So that's my final answer. A sharp is the third scale degree of F sharp major. It's a little bit of just counting pitch letter names forward or backwards to find scale degree 1, because scale degree 1 is always the name of the key. And then use the key signature knowledge to specify whether that key should be sharp or natural or flat or what have you. Sometimes I'm able to read facial expressions, but with these masks on, I can only see eyes, so I don't know if things are clicking or if things are going whoosh, or if you're thinking about lunch, you know, or something like that. So. All right, let's move on. I want to talk a little bit about the circle of fifths, as I promised. And there's a diagram of the circle of fifths on page 8 in your textbook, which I will try to fill on the screen. There we go. I'll have to shrink it just a little bit so it fits all on here. Normally, what I would do, well, thankfully this is working, because otherwise I'd have to try to draw a circle of fifths on the board, and my circles come out like eggs. They don't look that great. So here we have circle of fifths. Now, what in the world is a circle of fifths? Well, some people find it easier to memorize key signatures if they picture all of the major keys arranged around a circle called the circle of fifths, like the one shown right here. Okay. First of all, as you can maybe surmise, doesn't the circle of fifths kind of resemble or look like the face of a clock? how many stations are there? I mean, how many of those, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think there's just the right exact number of stations that we have for the face of a clock. You could think of them, I guess, as hours if you want to, in a way. So why is it called the circle of fifths and not the circle of whimsy or something like that? Well, it's called the circle of fifths because as you move clockwise around the circle, each new key begins on the fifth scale degree of the previous key. Let's see if we can test that theory out. You see how C major is at the top center? Well, as you move clockwise around the circle of fifths, the very next key should start on the fifth scale degree of the previous key. What is scale degree 5 in C major? G, is it not? So that's the next key. And then what is scale degree 5 of D major? D, right? So that's where we get the next key, and so on and so forth. So it keeps going like that around, clockwise around the circle of fifths. Now, notice that as also you move clockwise around the circle of fifths, not only do you start on the fifth scale degree of the previous key, but each time you add one more sharp to the major key's key signature. So it falls into a nice pattern like this. You add one more sharp. No flats, no sharps in C major. D major has one sharp, D major has two, etc., etc., etc. Until you get to down to about right here, the bottom, and then eventually you have to start going onto the flat side of things, which is on the left side of the circle, because we don't have any keys, major keys that require double sharps in their key signature. So once we get to C sharp major, which has 7 sharps, that's where we stop with the sharp keys. We're not going to keep going and invent these new keys with double sharps. I hate to say it, even if you kept going, you could maybe get triple sharps. That's nasty. All right, so you add a sharp. Another way to say that is as you go clockwise around the circle of fifths, you take away or you lose a flat. See, if I'm over here and I'm still going clockwise around the circle, do you see how the key signatures, they lose a flat one time each time? Now, what about when you go counterclockwise around the circle? Well, if you go starting at the top, if you come this way, you add a flat each time to the key signature. And as you get over here and you're still going counterclockwise, you lose one sharp each time. So it again falls into a nice pattern that your brain can pick up on and latch onto. Again, all of our brains work differently, but for some of you this might be like, wow, you know, this is a godsend. You should have started with this on day 1. Or something like that. But for others of you, you might think, no, it's not such a big deal. Whatever you do not call it the wheel of fifths. I've had people call it the wheel of fifths, and that is sacrilegious. No, I mean, it's not sacrilegious. But it's the circle of fifths. Okay, what else can we tell about the circle of fifths? I did not get from the circle, I did not get to this last class because I ran out of time, but there are 3 pairs of major keys that exist in music that are considered to be enharmonic. Can keys, like pitches, can keys be enharmonic? Yeah, they can. It just means that all the notes of their, if you have 2 keys that are enharmonic, all the notes of their scales sound exactly the same on the piano, they're just all spelled differently. Okay? Now, do you see that there are, where are the 3 key enharmonic pairs of keys? Are they at the top or the bottom or the right or the left of the circle? The bottom. Yeah, they're all at the bottom. You see how B major, which has 5 sharps, is enharmonic with C flat major. Well, that makes sense because if you just think of the note B, that's enharmonic with the note C flat. It's one and the same key on the piano. So B major has 5 sharps, C flat major has 7 flats. Oh, I'm not showing you the bottom. F sharp major has 6 sharps. Oh, there it is. G flat major is enharmonic with that, and it has 6 flats. And then finally, D flat major has 5 flats, but the enharmonic key C sharp major has 7 sharps. I've had students do this in the past. Please be aware that if you say the key of B major has 7 flats, I've marked it wrong. I mean, yeah, I know B major is enharmonic with C flat major, which has 7 flats. But to be true, technically B major has 5 sharps in its key signature, not 7 flats. So just be careful about that. All right. We talked about the enharmonic pairs of keys. Let's, I have, once you get a little more familiar with these scales, key signatures, and even the circle of fifths, I've had students, and you can do this, I mean, I'm not going to let you use this as notes for a test or a quiz or anything, but if you know it by memory, I've had students actually write circle of fifths on their test papers before. Maybe they don't fill out the whole thing, but maybe they fill out the portion at the top or on the left side or the right side that they need in order to visualize and help them answer whatever questions are on the test. So if you want to draw, again, it takes test time away from you, but if you want to draw a portion or some of the circle of fifths on your test from memory, that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine with me. Okay. All right. So you can see how quickly you can grasp the answer. Like if I asked you what major key has 4 flats, you can immediately see it's which key. A flat major, right? So again, flashcards are useful. If you, I don't know if any of you have I mean, I do not, but if any of you have close to or your, I don't know if your mind works kind of like a photographic memory or an eidetic memory. I mean, if you can kind of see and visualize the circle in your mind when you close your eyes, if you can kind of remember that and just memorize the circle, you would have all the information you need for major scales. You would. Whatever works best for the way you think, for the way your mind works, to get this information down. I can't really stress enough that practice and memorization is going to bring about fluency with these skills. And by fluency, I mean accuracy, but also coupled with a relative amount of speed. That's what we eventually want with major scales and key signatures. I've read in books that teach you or that help you learn how to teach theory. I've read in books that information computed from scratch each time is practically useless. And I've even read authors that have said that eventually we'd like you to get to a point where you know the major key signatures as quickly and as readily as you know your own name. That'd be awesome. Because everything builds from this information as we go later on. Okay, so we talked about that. Let me just try before we, by the way, I should stop. Does anyone have any questions about anything so far? Is my discussion clear as mud? Okay. All right, then let's finish off with one other thing. This is more of a technical question, and I'm not going to ever ask you a question like this on homework assignments or quizzes or tests, but I think it invites you to think a little bit deeper and use the knowledge you have of major keys and key signatures. So for instance, let's say I'll end up writing something on here to illustrate it. Let's say I gave you this, posed you this question or this problem, and I said the two notes C sharp and D. C sharp and D. Those two notes both appear in which 2 major scales? Both of them only appear in 2 major scales. Is there a way to determine or find out which 2 major scales they appear in? Let's think about this for a little bit. How could we do let me go ahead and write out some things that I think will help you understand how to do it. I mean, if you were asked to, and I won't go this far, on test or quizzes or anything like that. So we know, for instance, that C sharp, that's going to be in a key signature that contains sharps. So in order for C sharp to be included in the major scale or key I'm asking for, one of those, we have to go to at least what key? Does anyone know which major key the last sharp is C sharp?
Is it D?
Yeah, D major. Okay? So see, this is D major's key signature. That's D major. And I know I have to go at least on the circle of fifths, I have to go at least that far clockwise from the top. Because C sharp has got to be one of the notes included in my answer. Okay? But, let's say I go a little further here. The next key is A major. Does A major satisfy that question?
Yes.
Yeah, it's got a C sharp still in it, and it would have a D natural because there's no D sharp in the key signature. Well, let's go on further. The next one down is which one? E major. That has 4 sharps. Does this key satisfy the answer? No, because see, now the D is sharp and it eliminates this as a possibility. So it appears that the only 2 keys where C sharp and D, those notes both occur naturally in, are these 2 keys right here, D major and A major. And then I don't have to think anymore and I can stop. I can move on to something else. Again, I'm not going to go this far, but I just want you to be aware that there are schools out there across the country. There are people, there are individuals that, maybe, who knows, maybe this is, they eat, live, and breathe this stuff, and they think about these things. So I just wanted to put that forth to you, and you don't have to think about it or not, but, this is something we can determine just from knowing key signatures and major scales. Okay. I've probably exhausted you, or else bored you to death. So, as we finish up here, I need to give you, for your assignment for Friday, is a handout, it looks like. Yeah. What I call oh, I forgot to give you this. Can I give you a printout of the circle of fifths? Let me do that first, and then I'll get to your assignment. Now I'll get you the handout. I call it handout number 3. It's all about major scales and key signatures. And this is the only thing that is due on Friday. Oh, please be aware there's a back side to it, so front and back, make sure you turn it over. And once you get this assignment, you're welcome to split. For those of you that were thinking about lunch for the past 50 minutes, your wishes will soon come true. All right, have a good rest of your day. Or if you even want to get really rough, you can even want to just fill it with that. But you don't have to.
All right.